Dave, thanks to Red Cloud, and thanks to all the viewers. We can't see you, but hopefully people are actually listening to us talk. It's Jim Paterson, Chairman, CEO of ValOre, and I've got Colin Smith, who is the VP Exploration. Just want to start by saying I was very impressed with the speakers so far, because what the story they tell is that the uranium sector is, for once, probably one of the most exciting segments of the mining exploration sector. And you've got one of what Travis was talking about, one of the best mining assets in the world, ready to go into production across all minerals. With ISO Energy, you've got a very exciting discovery with monster grades, very thick intervals, very exciting. And then based on the trading volume, the last week or so for UX, you could see that the market loved the deal. So super exciting stuff happening in the sector. We're going to talk today about our Anglak property, which is the uranium project in Nunavut territory. And now, for some reason, there we go. So we're going to focus on discovery here. We're part of Discovery Group. We're a proud member. You can see the number of companies here, the logos. We're an alliance of public companies that work together. We share economies of scale, buying power, share a love for exploration and discovery. What's not on this list here is some of our recent successes, which we hope to duplicate or replicate with ValOre. That'd be Great Bear, that'd be Kaminak and Northern Empire, some recent successes. As far as the company goes, I'll just briefly outline and say, very strong board with some deep experience in uranium sector, a very strong management team and consultants backing us to help us acquire, advance, make discoveries, and finance the development of exploration projects, specifically in this case, the Anglak property, and high level of insider ownership. We put our money where our mouth is. So today I will not talk about Pedra Branca, which is a PGE project that the company holds in Brazil. We did have a news release on that today, and lots of exciting news to follow. So that's an asset that's hidden within the company. We're in the middle of a strategic review to unlock value by separating this asset from our very exciting uranium project, which is in Northern Canada, Nunavut territory, large land package, one of the few uranium explorers that actually has a uranium inferred resource. We spent a significant amount of money advancing the project, which we'll talk about today. But look around at some of the uranium explorer codes that actually have resources, and you can count them on one hand. We are in Nunavut territory as far as the jurisdiction for exploration and mining. It's actually one of the better jurisdictions in the world, in my opinion. There's a lot going on. Some of the big guys that are involved with projects there are Agnico Eagle. You can see some of their projects, gold projects. Not only exploration and development, but production. Orano has a project, and Roger kind of touched on it a bit. It's called the Kigavik project, and that's a large uranium resource and reserve. That project is about 200 kilometers to the north of our property, which is about a 60,000 hectare project. We've done a lot of work on the property over the years. We're kind of approaching almost 65 million Canadian spent. A lot of geophysics, which is shown here, a lot of drilling. We just finished a very successful RC program where we had a great hit rate, which Colin will talk about, nailing near surface shallow. We hit radioactive structures near surface in 3 target zones, which Colin will talk about. We've just completed a pretty comprehensive ground VLF survey. What I'm going to talk about today is, to start with anyways, is this area. So as I was talking about, we're one of the few companies with an actual 43101 inferred resource in the uranium exploration sector. So these 5 orange squiggles represent 43 million pounds at 0.69% U3O8. There's a gap here that Colin will talk about called J4 West. I'm going to jump right into the resource. 43 million pounds at 0.69%. We've drilled over 330 holes, spent, as I said, close to $65 million. What you'll note is it starts very near surface, and that's a trend that continued with our work this summer, or this spring actually, we just finished. And just take a look at this project zone right here, which Colin will get into. Roughly 14 million pounds in this zone that we call J4, and about 1 million in Ray, near surface. And right here, we've kind of had this little lightning bolt. We've squeezed the image together so we can fit this all on one long section. But Colin will be talking about this area called J4 West. So now I'll pass it to him.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, so what we're looking at here, the yellow squiggly line, those two represent the J4 and Ray zones. So the northern being the J4, that's about 15 million, or 14 of the 15 million pounds. The base map, what you're seeing is ground VLF. So the warmer colors, the magenta, those are conductors, those are good structures to target. You can see there's a very distinct offset in the magenta conductor in the southern portion here. So that's a structure, and we got quite excited about that as we started drill targeting earlier this year. And what that looked like to us was that the J4 structure and Ray actually are intact, but continue sort of offset to the southwest on the west side of that structure. So the white dots, those are historical holes. And you can see on the J4 West target, the northern of the two red squiggles, there's two dots. So the western, there's 3 holes in that pad. All 3 of those hit grades comparable to the J4 zone. The other hole you see there is an RC hole that we believe was drilled a little bit too far to the north and missed. So we went ahead and drilled 6 holes from 3 pads. We hit on 4 of those with counts per second exceeding 22,000 in one of the holes, 13,000 in another. And what you're not seeing is that conductor actually that we drilled continues for another half kilometer to the west there. So this thing's fully open along strike to the west. You obviously run into the structure as you go east, but all these holes are, the intervals are between a vertical depth of 30 to 100 or 80, about 85 meters vertical depth. So these things are really near surface. We're drilling and tracing these things to surface. So fully open to the west and pretty excited potential.
Oh yeah, okay, so I forgot about that there. I'm jumping in. So if you move about 27 kilometers to the southwest, another zone that Colin and the team targeted this year with the RC rig was the dipole. And that all started back for us when we were called Kivlik Energy. Our team made a bit of a discovery, a rock sample that was pretty high grade U308. We already had some pretty high quality VLF. We ran some soil lines over it, and it was a very exciting target, which we drilled in 2015. You can see here, this hole hit a little over 2%, 1 meter. But what was really exciting is just how shallow that was. So based upon all that work, there was a hiatus when the market sucked terribly for the last 5-6 years that we didn't do work, but we were back on this year. And the very first thing that we tackled was the dipole. So I'll get Colin to talk about that.
Great, yeah, thanks, Jim. So the map on the left is the plan view. From northeast to southwest, we're looking at about 1.5 kilometers. The 2015 core holes are again in the white dots there. And the red crosses represent the holes that we drilled this year for the RC program. So 17 in total, we hit strong radioactivity in 14 of 17 of those, 14 of 17 rather. And the section that you're looking at there, A to A prime, which is the middle panel there, just shows some of the highlights in the counts per second on the scintillometers. So these are all assays pending, of course, but the most exciting of those 3 holes was the steepest there that you see, 007, where we went through 4 distinct zones of high radioactivity, the deepest being over 24 meters, that was just shy of 2,700 counts per second, and fully open at depth, fully open along strike in both directions. And the compelling nature of this target, and really all the targets in Anglac, including the resource areas, the shallow nature of the mineralization. These are intervals between 15 to 115 meters depth. Of course, they're open at depth, but these are really shallow, and not only make that compelling from a development standpoint, but also from an exploratory standpoint as well. And this is just a summary of the 3 targets. We didn't talk about Yat. That was a target we also drilled with the RC bit this year. We hit on 4 of 4 holes, assays pending for all those, of course, but hit ratio of 81% in terms of strong anomalous radioactivity on the scint, and samples in the lab for assay.
Right, so I'll just wrap it up by saying the orange squiggles represent 43 million pounds All these black stars represent targets that either we've drilled or received pretty high grade rock samples at surface, but for the most part, these are targets that we actually have drilled with core. And then this spring, we brought the RC rig in for the very first time, over 80% hit ratio. All this stuff is very shallow. So this is upside here in the form of these green stars. So more news to come from this project. Assays, I think all the samples have been sent to the lab for assay. We've got continued assays from Pedro Branca and a very exciting summer ahead. And with that, I'll pass it back to Mr. Talbot.